Hey guys, another update on the Camaro. It's August 14th, so it's been about a month and a half since I made the last update video. I've done a lot of foundation work, so to speak, on the Camaro. Not much visually has changed, but I've worked out a lot of bugs and finished a couple of small tasks, which I will explain to you guys and show you what I've been up to the last month or so. So this is where we're sitting right now. Made some blocks to get it up off the ground. Super useful, makes it way more steady than using jack stands, and I can lay underneath the car, take measurements, and comfortably be on the creeper. So those took, I don't know, maybe half hour to build with a nail gun. They're about 14 inches wide, by about 14 inches by 11 inches by about 14 inches tall. So super helpful, gets everything up at a nicer working level so I'm not hurting my back. I guess on the last video I just watched it and I was working on these core supports, got them welded on. Not super pretty, but they work. A little bit of booger weld, and the frame rail was completely squared off, so I just did a little pie cut right here, took that out, bended it down, and then welded it back on. And just to show you that I'm trying to keep authentic with a 69 Camaro with my booger welds, I'm going to pause the video and go show you factory welds on the original subframe. So this is an unmodified subframe. Check out all this awesome spatter, pops in the weld, big old globs. So I guess I could lie to you guys and technically say I'm an awesome welder and I'm just trying to keep it authentic. Just kidding, about 50% of my welds look good. The other 50% I grind. So I'm gonna pause it again and go back to the rest of the project. So after I finished building these core support brackets, I started working on the coilover mounts. Pretty happy with how they turned out. It looks tight on the clearance, but I'm gonna add a couple of spacers here to keep this from sliding, and it'll help center this gap and this gap. Again, I used my cardboard aided design, and I mocked it up out of cardboard and then transferred all my stuff onto cardstock and poster board from the dollar store. Took this, laid it out on a scrap piece of frame rail, used the plasma cutter and grinder to cut out the shape, and then I used the angle grinder to score along these lines to help make it easier to bend. And then once I got it all bent up, then I just welded inside and out along those score lines to help strengthen it back up. Also, I made, let's see if I can get in here. So I made this little arm to keep the factory strut brace from pivoting, because I wanted to keep my pivot points here and up here and not have a third pivot point at the bottom here. So I just made that little leg, which I'm hoping will be substantial enough, and I will bolt it to the lower control arms. I also took off the upper control arms, installed black polyurethane bushings so they kind of still look factory and don't draw your eye to them. I have yet to install the lower control arm bushings, but it's only about $65 for polyurethane versus the factory rubber ones, which were like $45. So just took the chance to upgrade. I have also mocked up the motor once, and after mocking it up and measuring a bunch, I figured out that I could lower the entire engine about 1.5 inches So I took the plasma cutter, cut out this piece right behind the steering rack, and then just boxed it back in. And I think that'll give me a lot more clearance for the transmission tunnel. So a little bit about the engine. If you'll notice in my garage, it is not here anymore. So I had an iron block aluminum head LQ9 out of a 2003 Cadillac Escalade, and I sold it the other day. Made a little bit of a profit and was able to buy an all aluminum 5.3 that should be here in a couple of days. And the reason for doing that is because it is roughly 100 pounds lighter, which 100 pounds will make up for the weight of the transfer case, which is about 80 pounds with fluids, and the differential, which is about 40 pounds with fluids and front drive shafts. So just by going to the all aluminum LS, I've knocked off an equivalent weight of roughly what I've added. Also, from searching on the internet, it looks like the LS motor is, I don't know, 75, 80 pounds lighter than a standard iron-headed small block Chevy. So with any luck, I will be roughly the same weight, maybe a couple 100 pounds heavier than a factory 69 Camaro after this all-wheel drive swap. Let's see, another issue that I kind of ran into, but I think I've mentally solved from explaining to other people, is the steering rack. If you'll notice, that is about a finger width away from the factory rag joint. And in looking, this is a column shifted steering column, which is not original to the car. So I'm going to scrap that anyways. And let's see, who makes it? Jegs and Summit sell universal tilt columns in lengths from like 28 all the way up to like 34 inches long. A factory column is 32 inches long from what I've researched. So my thought is that I will get a 30-inch column and then scoot this all the way as close as I possibly can to the firewall for support. And with a shorter column, I won't be interfering or getting the steering wheel closer to your lap. And that'll give me just enough room to weld on this joint and a rag joint, making that a pretty easy mount up, I think. Let's see, for the time being, that's about all the fabrication work that I've done. Kind of waiting for the motor right now, and while I wait for the motor, I'm going to be welding in a patch panel. This is about all of the rust that I've found on the car, and it's fairly common from the heater core leaking and then getting the carpet and jute insulation wet. So I'll be repairing that today, and that's the update. That's where we're at. So super stoked with how everything's coming together, and it's been a fun project so far. I'll keep you updated. Thanks.